Now, this video will not be about 2020, even if that subsequently does make a bit of a mockery of the title. In the last 12 months, Triple H's brand has left its cozy spot on its own network for the vim and vigour of proper TV. Thanks to a USA Network deal that saw the show move from 1 to 2 hours to compete directly with the soon-to-launch AEW Dynamite on TNT. The Wednesday Night Wars were to be a thrilling reminder of a particular period of old days some people still can't stop talking about. And for the first few months, they were just that. NXT had cynically but successfully marginalized their opposition. Battle bruised and just battered by the demand, NXT still remains WWE's best show, but it still badly hit the skids, taking with it Hunter's reputation as an astute booker and safe heir to the McMahon empire. Perception was something that he knew how to massage though before now, but the actions on any given week have spoken a little bit louder than his media conference words. We are here to talk about his actual worst year after all, and the golden era of the black and gold brand suggests that, well, like WWE success, things might just be cyclical. I'm Gareth from What Culture Wrestling, and here is the worst year of Triple H's WWE career. Triple H has lived a pretty charmed life, really, regardless of all the stories of how he was buried for a year after the curtain call, or how tough it was to be the guy getting pushed while dating the boss's daughter, especially when the boss decided that you couldn't even be together anymore. Or, well, that was it, really, wasn't it? Those are the horror stories. 2 of them. And let's just unpick those for just a second. Yeah, why not? To try and work out which best fits the titular brief of worst of his career. The Clique said goodbye to one another following that steel cage main event at Madison Square Garden in May 1996, and only lowly mid-carder Hunter Hearst Helmsley was there to take the rap afterwards. It's a massive shame too, because he was just about to win the King of the Ring, and he had to wait until 1997's tournament to receive his cape and crown. What a hellish year for him afterwards too. He lost on television repeatedly, if you even saw him at all. Platefuls of crap, his future father-in-law told him he'd have to swallow. 12 miserable months followed. Oh, he definitely didn't appear in a 15-minute match with Stone Cold Steve Austin on October's Buried Alive, or win the Intercontinental Championship the very next night on Raw, or defended at December's It's Time, or January's Royal Rumble, or work WrestleMania against Goldust. And as for the Stephanie McMahon situation, forget about it, pal. That rocket strapping he received in 1999, it was well and truly grounded by 2001, let me tell you. Vince had long decided enough was enough, and his main event aspirations had as much chance of blossoming as their star-crossed love. No belts for the game because he played and lost, pal. Must have really sucked to be Triple H in 2000, really. Yeah. What a shame. It was just like Romeo and Juliet, but the fatalities were worse because people dying ain't got anything on the demise of work-based relationships and title runs. Smooth sailing though once you escape those stormy waters, right? Yes, right. Because there are no twists here, he always wins. Triple H didn't quite become his own boss around 2010, but semi-retirement after a billion title reigns in the 2000s came with at least being his own team leader, let's say. Which is absolutely worse, as anybody who's ever had a team leader or supervise will likely know. Those people are just worse. Sorry, it's true. They're the ones that get paid a nominal amount more per hour just to take on far more responsibility than it's worth, and typically get to hold a big set of keys or headset or something, like, yeah, go you. Or in Triple H's case, both. He started making television towns when Daddy had better things to do, and was routinely spending more time at Gorilla than between the ropes. All of that looks, with hindsight, to have been for the good of his own future, let's say. Clocking that John Laurinaitis had done an objectively bad job furnishing the roster with tomorrow's next big stars, the game used himself sparingly as a top babyface, while decking dorks as a way to illustrate the point in front of the camera. This begat a new role in talent development, which begat NXT, which begat Vince McMahon taking every single carefully constructed character from about 2014 onwards and crushing them within weeks of their Raw debut. So we're here to talk about 2014, right? You know, the year the Batista push bombed. The year Paige and Emma had the best WWE women's match ever at that point in February and drowning by December. The year Roman Reigns first started getting booed. Horrendous 12 months for the game, no? No. There are no twists here, he always wins. That feeling you've had for the last, 20 years or so that this guy just keeps bloody winning isn't because you've seen him pin more shoulders than an acupuncturist. Even in 2014 with those difficulties and inconveniences, he still moved on from a blow-up with CM Punk to have a WrestleMania show stealer with Daniel Bryan. He then reformed Evolution for a banger feud with The Shield and remained top heel in the company thanks to the Authority's domination over all the babyfaces. In the show that never really ends, his major losses are ones that rarely last. This is the inherent problem with Triple H. Well, one inherent problem, there's a couple. Most guys have had years they'd rather forget at some point or another. Stone Cold bloody Steve Austin burned brighter than anybody in the history of the industry, but by 2002 he was burned out by his own admission. Hulk Hogan avoided complete turkeys until about 2006 when stuff started getting a bit weird. The Undertaker struggled to have good matches in years where he only worked once. Now, we use these names not because the game is comparable to the biggest stars in the history of the industry, but because they are just that. And if the biggest stars can't even go a career without elongated spells of things going to hell, how has he managed it? Control. And that, because it's been put off enough, that finally takes us to 2003. It's not about the game or how you play it, but it is about control and if he can take it. And here's the thing, Hunter's such a cerebral assassin that 2003 is probably his favorite year. It's the fan base at large that's left picking up the pieces. In 2003, he carried the first love of his life until September and married the second in October. The latter saw him become part of the McMahon family business after 9 exhausting months chasing customers away. In January and February of 2003, he mercilessly exposed Scott Steiner's injuries, along with obscured flaws in his act, in 2 abysmal matches he was never destined to suffer the ramifications of. WrestleMania 19 is brought up all the time, and it should be brought up more because the racist went over. Booker T didn't get his rematch because a 6-man tag at Backlash was used to transition the game into a 3 pay-per-view series of absolute stinkers with Kevin Nash. Sorry, Michael Hamflett. He then unmasked Kane less than a year after beating him in the feud where he pretended to shag a dummy full of spagball, dressed just like him. After seemingly putting over Goldberg enough, he put it off some more with a SummerSlam 2003 Elimination Chamber victory over the former WCW World Champion in their first meeting. Because that's exactly how the Atlanta outfit booked him during his original outing with Hulk Hogan in 1998. A break for the aforementioned nuptials saw Hunter back for another brutally boring battle with Goldberg at the Survivor Series before taking his vanity belt back to end the year on a high. In goddamn opposite land. It was the worst of times, and it was the worst of times. 2003 ended with Triple H and his Evolution group atop the world, and life as a Triple H hater was made even harder by several unconnected events around that time. For one, he bantered Sheriff Steve Austin off the face of the planet for having a toy badge, in a reminder that he was one of the only characters actually booked seriously on a rotten and rotting Raw. For another, he had an absolute firecracker of a bout with Shawn Michaels, maybe their best straight match ever. That faked a possibility that he was back to his 2000 best. 2004 wouldn't prove to get a lot better, but the latter moments from a piss-poor year created the vague sense that he'd found his form again. Maybe. Possibly. But he never did. Not really anyway, and certainly not consistently. Once legitimately the best wrestler in the world for around 18 months, Hunter flattened his curve and instead became a wrestler that very occasionally had really good battles. If he was in there with the right guy and you don't mind the pace being a step slower than everything else on the card. That's a lot of qualifiers for a guy that at various points referred to himself as that damn good, the game, and the king of kings. Really does a number on your voice, that. At least Cerebral Assassin sort of proved true. He killed off so many people's enjoyment of wrestling in 2003 that they had no choice but to try and erase it from their minds completely. But now I've just brought it all back. And that was the worst year of Triple H's WWE career. And wasn't it fun to relive it, eh? Let us know your thoughts on this time, and do not forget to like, share, and click on that subscribe button. Also, be sure to head on over to whatculture.com and click on some more awesome articles just like the one this video is based on, written by the brilliant Michael Hamflett. I've been Gareth from What Culture Wrestling. Thank you very much for watching, and I'm sure I'll see you very, very soon.